children, we are going to continue today with the kingdom Animalia. We all know, we've already discussed in the last class, that kingdom Animalia includes all multicellular eukaryotic organisms. Alright, now there is a variety in kingdom Animalia. We've already done two phylums. In kingdom Animalia, we've done Porifera and we have done Coelenterata. Okay, any characteristic features that you can tell me about kingdom Animalia, the diversity that they show? Yes, Hardik, any characteristic feature of kingdom Animalia?
They are triploblastic.
Very good, triploblastic. Now triploblastic means when the organism body is made up of three germinal layers, that is ectoderm, endoderm and mesoderm. Now when we are talking of symmetry of animal body, we discussed in the last class, what are the two basic symmetry plan of animal body? Anybody who would like to answer? Yes, Devika.
And they are bilaterally symmetrical.
All right.
Meaning that the body is divided into two equal halves, left and right.
Very good. All right. Now when we are talking of symmetry of an animal body, we are basically talking of two symmetry. One is called as a bilateral symmetry and another is called as a radial symmetry. Now when we are talking of kingdom Animalia, we are talking of bilateral symmetry and we are talking of radial symmetry. These are the two basic characteristic features on which kingdom Animalia is divided. Now, when we are talking of a bilateral symmetry, it means that the body can be divided into two equal halves which are mirror images of one another only through the center, passing through the center. For example, human body. If we cut human body like this, the two parts, will they be mirror images of one another? No. If we cut it like this diagonally, will it be mirror images? No. If we cut it like this, will it be mirror images? Yes. So that means it is only one plane passing through the center where the body can be divided into two equal halves which are mirror images of one another. This is called as bilateral symmetry. However, on the other hand, when we are talking of radial symmetry, that means that the body can be divided into two equal halves in more than one plane passing through the center. For example, if we cut the body like this, or like this, the body would be divided into two equal halves. Example, starfish. When we are talking of a starfish and we cut the body like this, this, or this, there will be two equal halves. That kind of a symmetry is called as radial symmetry. In continuation to the two phylums that we have done already in kingdom Animalia, we have done Porifera and we have done Coelenterata. We begin with another phylum which is phylum Platyhelminthes. Now when we talk of Platyhelminthes, platy is a Latin word which means flat. So this phylum includes flatworms. Now when we are talking of the characteristic features which are included under this particular phylum, first they are dorso-ventrally flattened worms. Second, they are triploblastic. We'll discuss the meaning of each and every word now. Third, they are acoelomate. Fourth, they are free-living or parasitic. Example, tapeworm, which is scientifically called as Taenia solium. Alright. Now talking about the first characteristic feature, that they are dorso-ventrally flattened. As the name suggests that the organism is dorso-ventrally flattened, which one is the dorsal side and which one is the ventral side in a human body? If I'm standing like this, which one is the dorsal side and which one is the ventral side? Anybody who would like to answer? Yes, Ishan.
Dorsal side is the back side and the ventral side is the front side.
Very good. Now when we are talking of, sit down Ishan, when we are talking of dorso-ventrally flattened worms, that means that the body is flat from the ventral side, this is the front side, and this is the dorsal side where our backbone is, the back side. So the worm is flat from both the sides, from top to bottom. Alright, so the organisms which are included under platyhelminths include worms which are dorso-ventrally flattened. Talking of another characteristic feature, they are triploblastic. We've just now discussed that when we are talking of diploblastic or triploblastic organization, we mean that as triploblastic, the word suggests, tri means 3, blastic means layers. So the body is made up of 3 germinal layers, and these are ectoderm, endoderm and mesoderm. If one of the layer is missing, then the organism will become diploblastic. Alright, because all the 3 germinal layers are present here, so it is called a triploblastic organization. Is that clear to everybody? Alright, now when we talk of they are acoelomate, if you could recollect, in the last class, we discussed about the concept of coelom. Okay, what is a coelom? Anybody? What is a coelom? Yes, Alak.
Coelom is a body cavity in which all the organs are present.
Alright, very good. When we are talking of coelom concept, we discussed in the last class, coelom is a body cavity in which all the body organs are embedded. If there are all 3 germinal layers which are there in the body organization, it is a triploblastic, and an organism is called as true coelomate when the coelom is lined by all 3 germinal layers. Alright, that is a true coelomate. Now when we are talking of an acoelomate organism, that means the coelom is absent. That means the coelom is not present. So we have only 3 germinal layers. We have an ectoderm, alright, we have an endoderm, a mesoderm, and inside the mesoderm we have an endoderm. So when we have 3 germinal layers and there is no body cavity inside this organization, this type is called as acoelomate organization. So this is an ectoderm, this is a mesoderm, and this is an endoderm. Alright, and there is no body cavity. So this kind is called as acoelomate organization where there is no body cavity, absence of a coelom. So these organisms are acoelomate. Another very important characteristic features, they are either free living or parasitic. Alright, they're either parasites, that means they require host body to derive their nutrition. Alright, or they are free living, they can live on their own. Typical example of this phylum is tapeworm. Tapeworm is Taenia solium. Now this is the specimen of a tapeworm. This is how a tapeworm looks. Alright. Now when we talk of this tapeworm, it has hooks or sucker. The hooks and suckers which are present on the anterior part of this, okay, in the mouth, it goes and attaches itself with the organism body and derives nourishment with that. Alright. The disease that is caused by this Taenia solium is called as teniasis. Alright. I'll give you the diagram of this Taenia solium and I will draw it on the board so that you can make a note of it, that how the head of this Taenia solium bear hooks and how it is able to attach itself to the host organism. Alright, I'll just draw it on the board now. If you look in your NCERT, your page number 91, there's a diagram of this Taenia solium and I'm going to draw this, refer to this diagram, okay, and we are going to draw this and learn more about Taenia solium now. Alright, now if you refer to this diagram of tapeworm, and also I've shown you the specimen of tapeworm, if you look at the head of this tapeworm, I'll just draw it on the board. Alright, now these are the place where it has suckers. These are the suckers. And this is called as a rostulum, which is the head part. Okay, so this is the head part of tapeworm. With these suckers, it is able to attach itself to the host body, and that's the reason it is called as a parasite. It derives all its nutrition by holding on to a parasite with the help of these suckers. And this entire head structure is called as a rostulum. Alright? And then, when you're talking of the body of this, it has It is a dorsoventrally flattened body and it's a huge structure. It is about 4 meters long. You know, the length of a tapeworm is about 4 meters long. All right, and it can live inside the intestine. It can live inside the intestine and it can derive its nutrition from the intestine. The kind of disease that the tapeworm produces, it is called as teniasis. This is the kind of disease, the disease which is produced by the tapeworm. All right. Now these are all segments which gets tapered towards the end. It gets smaller and smaller. And here you see these are called as proglottids. These are all called as proglottids. All right. So this is a typical example of a dorsoventrally flattened worms when we are talking of Platyhelminthes. All right. So are the characteristics of this particular phylum clear to all? Yes. Now coming to another phylum, this is phylum Nemathelminthus, also called as Ascalminthus or Nematoda. So please do not get confused when we are talking of these terms because they are used as synonyms. All right, Ascalminthus, Nemathelminthus or Nematoda. Now this phylum includes all roundworms. We've done earlier about platyhelminths. Platyhelminths include flatworms. So this is another category of worms which includes roundworms. All right. Now talking about the characteristic features of this particular phylum. First, they are again triploblastic. All right. Bilaterally symmetrical organisms. Triploblastic, bilaterally symmetrical organisms. They have cylindrical body. See, you can compare the two worms. Yeah, when we talked about platyhelminths, we said that they have dorsoventrally flattened body. When we are talking of roundworms, they have cylindrical body. So you can see the common features as well as the differences between various worms. All right. So cylindrical worms, cylindrical body. Third, they are pseudo-coelomate. Fourth, are generally parasites. So they have parasitic mode of nutrition. Example, we'll be talking about a typical example here, which is Ascaris, which is called as a roundworm. And we always underline scientific names. Make sure whenever you are writing a scientific name, it is underlined. Why? Because these are all Latin words, okay? And since we can't write in italics all the time, so we need to underline them to make sure that these are scientific names, all right? So Ascaris is a roundworm, which is this example, and then another is Wucheria, which is a filarial worm. All right, now talking about the characteristic features one by one again, when you talk of this phylum Nemathelminthus or Ascalminthus or Nematoda, one and the same thing. First, they are triploblastic. Again, we've done this already. Triploblastic means that the body is divided into 3 germinal layers. The body has 3 germinal layers, which are ectoderm, endoderm and mesoderm. Very good. Bilaterally symmetrical, again we've already done. That means the body can be divided into 2 equal halves in only one plane passing through the center. Very good. Cylindrical body, that means their body is cylindrical in shape. Unlike platyhelminths, where the body is flat. From the front side, ventral side, and even from the back side, which is dorsal side, this is a cylindrical body. All right. Coming to the third feature, pseudo-coelomate. Now, whenever we use the term pseudo, pseudo means false. Very good. Any other word you can give me with pseudo? Pseudopodia. Very good. Pseudopodia means false feet. Where do we see that? Very good. Amoeba. So, pseudo-coelomate means they have false coelom. They have false coelom. Now, we've already discussed this in the last class when we did the concept of coelom. Anybody who would like to throw light on this? Yes, Hardik.
Out of the 3 germinal layers, they do not have the mesoderm.
Very good. That means when we are talking of a pseudo-coelom, we can't say absolutely that the coelom or the mesoderm is absent. We can't say that. That means here the two germinal layers, ectoderm and endoderm, are present fully, but the coelom is not lined by mesoderm on all sides. Mesoderm is present as pouches, as mesodermal pouches, and that is the reason it is called as a pseudocoelom. If I depict it diagrammatically as we did in the last class, I'll just tell you quickly how we represent a pseudocoelom. See, when we are making a pseudocoelom, if this is the ectoderm, all right, and this is the body cavity that we are talking about, where all the body organs lie. Okay, this is a coelom of the body cavity. Now, when this body cavity is not lined by mesoderm on all sides, it has endoderm. This is an endoderm. All right, when we are talking of an endoderm layer, this is an endoderm. But when we are talking of mesoderm, it has only few pouches. These are the mesodermal pouches. So that means that if we have a coelom which is lined by endoderm and an ectoderm which is fully present, but mesoderm is present as mesodermal pouches. Very good. So we've already discussed this in the last class. When we are talking of a pseudocoelom, we should basically have this in our mind, that pseudocoelom means that the coelom of the body cavity is not lined by mesoderm on all sides. However, mesoderm is present in the form of pouches, which are called as mesodermal pouches. But the other two germinal layers, ectoderm and endoderm, are fully present. Alright, so this is the kind of body organization these organisms have. Alright, so that means if we compare it with the previous group of organisms, that is platyhelminths, they are acoelomate. These are pseudocoelomate. Alright, very good. Now they are generally parasites. That means again, just like the other worms that we spoke about, these worms are also parasites. That means they live inside the host body to obtain the nourishment from the host body. Now looking at, taking this specific example of this Ascaris or roundworm, I'll just show you this Ascaris. Now when we talk of this Ascaris, there are two specimens here. One where you can compare between a male and a female Ascaris. Okay, it shows sexual dimorphism. It shows sexual dimorphism. That means male Ascaris is different from a female Ascaris. Male are generally shorter in length as compared to females. Okay, and the posterior end is curved. If you look here in this particular specimen, all right, there are two organisms here. There's one organism, but there are two. Since it shows sexual dimorphism, there is a male and a female. Now the females, this is a male where you can see the curved end. You can see the posterior end which is curved. Everybody can see this? Yes. So this posterior end which is curved, you can correlate this with your book. There's a diagram given in your book. All right, you can see that the males are generally smaller than the female. There's a figure 7.15 where they've shown this creature, and you can see that the posterior end, please try to correlate this and frame this in your mind, that how it is different from platyhelminths. Here the posterior end is curved. The males are generally shorter than females. Alright, so they can see two worms here. It's a cylindrical body, it is not at all so ventrally flattened body. Alright, and they are pseudocoelomates. This is a typical example of a roundworm. Okay, now when we are talking of this organism Ascariasis, it lives in the intestine of humans. Alright, and the kind of disease that it causes, it is called as Ascariasis. Anybody who's heard of this disease? Ascariasis? Have you heard of this disease? This is an intestinal infection which is caused by this particular worm because it lives in the intestine. Alright, how do we get this Ascariasis? How do we get this? Anybody? From?
Contaminated food.
From contaminated food and water. Of course, we do get these kinds of infection through contaminated food and water. Alright, now when we take this contaminated food and water which is filled with this larvae, then we get this kind of an infection which is called as Ascariasis. Alright, so I'll write down the term on the board so that you can make a note of it, that what is Ascariasis. Everybody has seen this? Yes. Alright, good. So everybody is clear with this Ascaris? Okay, and you can correlate this with the figure given in your NCERT book. You can see figure 7.15 where they've shown both male and female Ascaris, and they've also shown Wucheria, which is a filarial worm. Do you see that? Okay, now the disease that I was talking about Ascaris, which is an intestinal worm which causes a disease called ascariasis. Now if we talk about, the male has a curved posterior end and it looks like this. It's a cylindrical worm. Alright, so this is Ascaris and this is the curved posterior end. And since it has a curved posterior end, it is a male Ascaris. Alright, and the kind of disease that it is called as ascariasis. Now it is an intestinal worm and it causes the infection in the intestine. Alright, now Wucheria, which is another organism that I told you, filarial worm, it is another worm which causes infection in the human body, and the infection that this causes is in the lower limb. Okay, the kind of disease which is produced by this organism, which is Wucheria bancrofti, should always underline the scientific names, which is Wucheria bancrofti. It causes a disease which is called as filariasis. The common name of Wucheria bancrofti is filarial worm. Okay, so the kind of disease that it causes is called as filariasis, which is a disease of limb. Here, the size of the limb, it becomes so swollen that it becomes like an elephant's leg. So, this is also called as elephantiasis. Okay, this is also called as elephantiasis. It becomes swollen and it is a disease of limb and it is also an intestinal worm just like Ascaris. Alright. Now talking about another phylum. Now we have done flatworm, we have done roundworm. Now we will be doing another category of worms which are called as segmented worms. Very good. Now we will be talking about segmented worms. So children, by now we have done two types of worms in the kingdom Animalia. One is, anybody? Flatworms, and another is roundworms. Now give me one basic difference between a roundworm and a flatworm. Yes, come on. Basic difference between a roundworm and a flatworm. Yes, Aishwarya. Very good. So this is the one basic difference between a roundworm and a flatworm, which Aishwarya has said. Yes, second difference.
Ma'am, flatworms are acoelomates and the roundworms are pseudocoelomate.
Very good. Flatworms are acoelomate and roundworms are pseudocoelomate. That means one, it has no coelom, and another one, it has a false coelom. Any example? Any example of a roundworm and a flatworm? Yes, yes, Hardik?
Platyhelminthes, that are the flatworms. Examples are liver fluke, and roundworms, nematoda, they are Wucheria.
Very good, Wucheria.
And
yes, and another one?
And Ascaris.
Very good. Sit down, please. When we are talking of flatworm, other than tapeworm, we have another example like liver fluke and planaria, which belongs to Platyhelminthes. When we are talking of roundworms, examples are Ascaris and Wucheria bancrofti. Very good. Name the disease which is caused by this roundworm, Ascaris.
Ascariasis.
Very good. Ascariasis is a disease caused by Ascaris. But where does this worm live? Very good. This is a disease of intestine. That means it's an intestinal infection and it is a parasite which lives in the intestine of man. Alright, so with that we will continue in the next class about the annelids, which are segmented worms. Alright, thank you.